Hello and welcome back to Crackpot Sports. Big news. The San Diego Padres look like they've acquired Juan Soto, Josh Bell for C.J. Abrams, Hassel, Wood, Gore, and Yarlin, some minor leaguer. I can't pronounce his name. But Hosper right now is part of the trade, but he doesn't want to go. He's saying he has a no-trade clause, and right now he's holding up the trade. Now, I can't imagine the Nationals going, hey, you didn't add Hosmer, we're not going to take the deal. They probably don't want Hosmer. They're probably happy, hey, we'll do it without Hosmer. Because who wants to take? He has $39 million left on his contract, 3 years left at $13 million per year over 23, 24, and the 25 season. The Padres want to get rid of him because that's $39 million off their payroll. They're going to need that to sign Soto and also to re-sign Bell because Bell is young and he's a free agent after this year. So we'll see what happens. But as of now, that's the holdup. It hasn't been officially announced yet. Hopefully it's not a Matt Scherzer thing like last year. Padre fans remember last year. Matt Scherzer coming to the Padres. And then the Dodgers swoop in and take him. So we're still waiting for it to be official. I got all excited, got all emotional. And then what happens? There's always a hiccup. Now, if Hosmer says no and it screws the trade up, they'd have to release him. I don't think he could survive in San Diego. I just think he's, I'm not a hater. I'm not a Hosmer hater, but he hasn't performed the last couple of years like he's being paid to. And I think San Diego fans would just be like, hey, that's enough. You messed up, Hosmer. You screwed up. You're killing us. So we'll see what happens. Still going on. I was doing a quick lineup. I said, what would the lineup be with Bell and – because the Padres offense has been not as productive as it should be. They have great starting pitching, probably the best starting pitching they've ever had. The best starting pitching they've ever had. And that includes 98 when they went to the World Series in 98. But don't waste that starting pitching. They added Josh Hader yesterday to shore up the bullpen. They got more arms coming back from the IR. And to beat the Dodgers, you're going to have to be able to beat them pitching. And it helps us be able to score a few runs. And now with Soto and Bell, if the trade goes through, I have Profar leading off, Manny batting second, Tatis batting third, Soto fourth, Bell fifth, Cronenworth sixth, Voit when he's DHing seventh, Alfaro when he's catching eighth, and Trent Grisham batting ninth. That's a really good lineup for the San Diego Padres considering what they've been doing lately. So let me know what you think. Is that enough to beat the Dodgers? Is that enough to open? I don't think the Padres can win the division. There's not enough time to win the division. The Dodgers aren't going to completely collapse. They have a great team with great pitching. But we're talking playoffs now. We just want to secure the playoffs. So once we're in the playoffs, you could start Darvish, Musgrove, Clevenger. Snell's been pitching well of late. And who am I forgetting? I'm forgetting someone, but, old age will do that to you. So with that, you go to three starters, even if you face the Mets, they have great pitching, but the Padres have beaten the Mets in a couple series this year. So, again, I would worry about the Mets, especially with DeGrom and the other pitchers they have with Scherzer. But it would be a great matchup. At least now the Padres have some hitting that they can compete against the great pitching. Let's see. There's Musgrove. Oh, Manaea. Manaea could go also. I couldn't forget Manaea. But that's what we're waiting on. We're waiting on seeing if the trade is going to go through and be official. Are they going to rip our hearts out again? Let's see. San Diego Padres. I'm scanning the Twitter world to see if anything's been official yet. Nothing official yet. So we'll see what's going on. Again, I hate giving up C.J. Abrams. I think C.J. Abrams is going to be a star. He needs some seasoning. He's only 21. He was hurt last season. He does make some lackadaisical mistakes. He makes some errors he shouldn't make. His base running has been atrocious. But to be fair, a lot of the Padre players, Kim and Voit, have been terrible at running the bases too. But he just seems kind of, hey, if I'm making out, I'm making out. But he does have talent, and he has a great, great swing. I think in time, that's going to be a player the Padres like, I hated giving him up, but we did get Juan Soto. Hassel has great talent. A lot of people aren't very high on him. I think he can be a good player. Wood has all the makings of being a great player. He's playing a low single A right now. Gore started the season on fire. Gore was absolutely amazing, and then his arm got tired. He has some kind of injury. We're not sure exactly what it is, but I think most of Gore's problems are up here. I think he starts throwing wild and he just can't stop it. But if you take Gore the first 8 games of the season this year, he was amazing. He was special. He could be a special pitcher. So it's not like the Padres didn't give up a lot for Soto and Bell, but you're getting, with Soto being 23, you're getting a young player, and he's under contract for the next 2 seasons. Can they extend him? They already have Machado making $30+ million a year. Tatis is making $340 million over 12 years. Can the Padres, the little Padres, can they afford to re-sign Soto? I think they have to. I think they have to. They signed Musgrove yesterday to a 5-year, $100 million contract. So the Padres are no longer the small market-minded team that they used to be. They have an owner who's putting money into the team, guaranteeing stuff. So, again, please go through. This trade would just be amazing. I'm just shocked the Dodgers haven't swooped in right now and stolen Soto, because that's what the Dodgers do. The Dodgers wait till the last second and just slap the Padres across the face and say, nope. Yes, Geek That Life. We are pumped. We are ready. We're excited. It should be fun. Go back to like 2020 season, the short season, where the Padres had an offense, they had pitching, and everything fell apart at the end when the pitchers got hurt, Clevenger and Lament, who was recently traded to the Brewers for Hader. If you would have told me in 2020 that we're going to trade Dinelson Lamet, I would say, no, I'm not doing that, because he's like the best pitcher on the staff. He got hurt, probably needed Tommy John surgery, and didn't get the surgery. He did some other kind of treatment, and he's not the same pitcher he used to be. Hopefully, I hope I don't wish any harm, I don't root against any player that's been traded from my former team. I want them to succeed. Geek Dad Life says apparently the deal isn't dependent on Hosmer approving the deal or not. That's why I said in the beginning of this video, I said, I'm sure Washington's hoping he doesn't accept the deal, because I'm sure they don't want him. They're rebuilding. Hosmer is a subpar defensive first baseman now. His problem has been, I think he's just getting, I'll be honest with you, he's not old, but he looks old. He was never very mobile before, and now you see him move. He can't really get to the balls. I mean, he's just a liability on defense. The Padres even started replacing him on defense late in the game. And the other night, they replaced him in the 6th inning when they took the lead 3-2 on the Twins. I think it was Sunday. And that had to tick off Hosmer. The writing has to be on the wall that he knows he's not in the future anymore. So I can see him not wanting to go from a team that's probably going to make the playoffs, especially now getting Soto and Bell, to Washington has no chance of going to the playoffs. I mean, as a player, yes, Geek Dad Life says he's been brutal on defense. He has been. He's been terrible defensively. And a lot of those defensive plays have hurt the Padres. I've been saying for the longest time he should be strictly a DH. But he has no power anymore. He 2 years ago, he had 99 RBIs, I think 25 homers. Last year he had 13 homers and 66 RBIs. This year I believe he has 7 homers and maybe 36 RBIs. He just isn't the player he used to be, and he's declining I mean, it happens. Some players, when they get older, you have to keep working out and exercising, and I don't think he's doing it. I think he just comes to spring training. Hey, I'm still young, and again, 32 is not old. 33, whatever he is, but in sports, you have to look at Profar. Jerkson Profar worked out with Fernando Tatis, senior and junior, this offseason, and he's a different player. He's hitting for power. He has 12 homers. He's gunning people out. He's playing a fantastic left field. He's been our best outfielder so far, without question. And he's got like 7 or 8 assists, outfield assists, which is great for an outfielder. People aren't even running on him anymore because, you can't – it's not worth taking a chance on making the out. He's become that good. So Hosmer, if he wants to get back to where he was, you have to work out. You have to exercise. Am I right, Geek Dad Life? Am I right, the people in the chat? I mean, I work out every day. Okay, maybe not. But I'm not playing professional baseball. He just doesn't have that oomph he used to have. So, I mean, it doesn't have to be like Voit. If you look at Voit, that dude works out probably 24 hours a day. At least 24 hours a day. It's incredible how much he works out. But getting Tatis back, hopefully the start of next week. So you've added Soto, Bell, Tatis, going with Manny, who's had a lot of problems because he has nobody no pitchers fear anybody hitting behind him. Now, Profar's been helped this week because they moved Manny up to the number 2 slot. So now people are having to throw to Profar, and he has 3 homers in the last 3 games. He does a great job of working the count. So I'm excited. Every Padre fan should be excited. And I think everyone in baseball should be excited that the Dodgers didn't or doesn't look like they're going to end up getting him. You don't want to see one team, especially a team I don't like, getting all the players. Am I right? Because the Dodgers, let's face it, they have the biggest payroll. They have a great farm system. They're great at taking pitchers who are terrible or average and making them really good pitchers. You look at Anderson this year. The guy has an under 500 lifetime record, and all of a sudden he's Cy Young. What is in the water in Los Angeles? Well, they don't have any water. But what is in Los Angeles air? What do the Dodgers have that turns these average pitchers into great pitchers? And even bad pitchers, they've done it. They've done it over and over again, and they always have players in the minors to, able to trade and to bring up. So the Padres going forward, they have to start developing players. They have to start developing players to bring them up in order to compete with the Dodgers. They're not going to be able to do it financially, even though the Padres attendance, I think they're 3rd in attendance overall. San Diego's not a sports town, Chargers, but San Diego Padres are 3rd in attendance. They've had 18 sellouts. People are, that's because of the other teams. No, the Twins didn't have a big turnout for their team, and they still sold out the games. And this will even help sellouts because there's going to be excitement. Fans are going to be excited the fact that you have Soto and Bell and everything else going on. Again, I'm excited. I can't say enough about this trade. I was going back and forth with it, but I said, you know what? I'm going to be 60 in a few days. I'm running out of time for my team to win a World Series. So go all in. Do it. But in the future, because they still have some young talent in the minors, and Preller is good at getting young talent. He's we traded France, Naylor, and some other players over the last couple of seasons. That it did hurt. I hated losing Ty France. He's become an all-star in Seattle. But he was just a backup with the Padres. There was no position for him because they had Hosmer blocking the way at first base. But now, hopefully, Grisham, he's shown some power lately. The last 25 games, he has 5 homers. Not a lot, but considering what he's done most of the season, hitting under 200. And he's been shaky on defense. I've been saying maybe he needs glasses. Maybe Grisham needs glasses because he is a Gold Glove outfielder who's become sketchy. The kid has talent, and if he can pull it together, that's one of the best lineups the Padres have ever had. I'll say it right now. It could be the best lineup the Padres have ever had, 1 through 9, especially since now we have the DH. But I'm glad there was rumors at one time that Cronenworth was involved in the trade. I'm like, oh, don't trade Cronenworth because you still have to have players around the superstars. Like the reason the Dodgers are, I looked at it this way: the Dodgers have three superstars. They have Bell. I'm sorry, they have Betts, Turner, and Freeman, and they have a great supporting cast around those three great players. And I said, if you have Tatis, Soto, and Manny, and you have Joe Blow and the rest of the guys behind it, you're not really gaining anything. So I think the Padres getting Josh Bell helps even more, and not trading Cronenworth was because Cronenworth, he's probably my favorite player on the team just because of his defense and he's a gritty player and he's a smart player. He's a heads up player. He's not getting picked off base like a lot of the Padre players are. As far as Kim goes, Kim has been hitting the ball well lately. He's not striking out as much. He's hitting the ball the opposite way a little more, which he has to do. He's not a power hitter in the sense that he's going to hit 40, 50 homers a year or even 30. He has to spray the ball around, and he started to hit the ball the opposite way, which I've been saying he needs to do. Grisham needs to do the same thing, and also Cronenworth. All three of those guys need to be better at spraying the ball around. Now, next year, you want to have the shift. That will help them, but you still want to spray the ball around because it makes you a better hitter overall. You're opening yourself up to the whole field instead of just right field or left field. Geek Dad Life says that's Murder's Row now. It kind of is. It kind of is. I mean, okay, let's not go crazy. It's not Gehrig and Ruth, but Soto could be the next Babe Ruth, maybe. We shall see. Still waiting for word. Let me check the Twitter, see what's going on. Oh, here it is. If the Nats do get Hosmer, they're only responsible for $8 million of the $39 million left on his contract and what's ever left this season. All right, okay, all right. So we're not losing the payroll on Hosmer. So I'm assuming this year he probably has about $6 million left. So we're obligated for about $37 million over the next 3 years for Hosmer. Would have been nice to get rid of his whole payroll, but again, there was no reason for the Nats to take Hosmer because they don't need him. I mean, they're rebuilding, and he's not the answer to. He's not like, okay, we're gonna put all our chips behind Eric Hosmer. You're not going to do that now. With him only making $8 million over the next 3 years, now they could probably trade him for someone else, maybe a younger player, maybe someone takes a chance. Well, if I only have to pay Hosmer $8 million over the next 3 seasons, I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Now, Geek Dad Life's asked, if we pay it off, it doesn't count towards the salary cap. Well, if that's the case, that helps the Padres. I mean, it's just lost money for the owner. But again, that's what makes sense now that Washington would take Hosmer, because if you don't have to pay him a lot, because if he was making $39 million and the Nats had to pay that, I don't think there's any way they could have traded Hosmer, not without offering a younger player to go with it. And when you're trying to rebuild, you don't trade younger players just to dump salary for someone who's not the player they used to be. So I do see the Nationals maybe trading Hosmer today. Maybe they trade him to the Yankees because, the Yankees would like to get rid of Gallo. So maybe they take Gallo because maybe the Yankees offer to pay Gallo's remaining contract he has this year. I think he's making $10 million this year. And I know the Yankees want to get rid of Gallo and maybe a change of scenery to do him well. But I wouldn't be shocked to see Hosmer accept the trade and then go to the Nats and be traded to the Nats to a contender. Now, if I can't see him saying no to the Yankees. There's no way. And they have that short porch in Yankee Stadium, which he might be able to hit the ball out there. So, and become the power hitter he used to be. Let's check to see what else is going on in the world of the Soto trade. Let's see. Let's see this. I'm reading here. I'm sorry, this is boring, but I'm trying to find out some more info. Dodger fans seem upset on Twitter. It's not a rivalry, though. They always tell us it's not a rivalry, but yet they're always there to knock us down. I have some friends, some close friends that are Dodger fans. Now people want the Padres to go after Wilson Contreras. I don't know if they have enough left to go after Wilson Contreras, but that would be a nice signing too. I'd like to see another bullpen arm, to be honest with you. Just get another closer type. Getting rid of Rogers was a big deal, and getting Hader, because Rogers started out well, but his problem was I think he's got it up here. I mean, he starts to pitch bad, and things aren't going right, and you can see it. Share my screen. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, I can share my screen. Okay. Yeah, I don't know how to do that. So, oh man, let's see here. Share. Yeah, I have to figure this out. This is my first time really doing a live stream. Done live videos before, but this is my first one doing a sports one where I'm up to the minute, or kind of not up to the minute, but I'm trying to be up to the minute and share what I know. Like as I said, I've been a Padre fan since 1969, day one. I can remember my parents taking me to a game. I can't remember who it was against. I think it was the Reds, but again, that was 53 years ago, quite a while. So I'm a long-suffering Padre fan. Had some good years. 84 was good, and a couple of the years before that and the year after were good. So the 80s weren't bad. 90s, it looked like we were making a run for it. And then Tom Warner said, you know what? We're just going to trade everybody and suck. So that sucked. But then 98, John Moore's won a stadium. And the best way to get a stadium is to build a winner, not to tank it and just you're leaving anyway. I don't want to mention anyone Spanos. But John Moore's built the team. They went to the World Series, played the Yankees, who had won 125 games that year. So there was no way the Padres were beating the Yankees. But they went to the World Series. They got their stadium. And then they were terrible for quite a while. 2006, they made the playoffs. But it's been a long drought. 2020, they made the short season playoff, won a playoff series against the Cardinals. It was exciting. 2021 was a disappointing season. They had injuries to the pitching staff, and the relievers were just – because the starting pitchers were only going 5 innings because of Tingler's strategy, and the bullpen was just gassed by the second half. And you could tell that the starters were hurt. The bullpen was gassed. The bullpen was gassed, and it just was just a terrible second half for the San Diego Padres. This year they started out good again, and then they started sliding, and mainly because the bullpen just couldn't hold leads, and the offense couldn't score enough runs. And so when you can't score enough runs, you're putting pressure on the pitching staff. The starting staff knows that, well, I have to pitch a shutout to get a tie. So that can be that hurts you also. So again, with the extra hitting, the start, because Joe Musgrove lost the game on Saturday. He gave up 2 runs, but lost the game because the Padres bullpen came in and just collapsed, and they lost 7-4. So again, the bullpen and the offense not scoring right away. Profar hit a 3-run homer in the bottom of the ninth, make it 7-4. But having that extra offense and having guys that you can probably score runs, if this team can score 5 runs a game with this pitching staff and now this bullpen, they're going to win a lot of games. Going into the playoffs, again, you need both. You need hitting and pitching. The starting pitching is there. The bullpen looks like it's there now, especially when you have Johnson and some of the other guys that have been hurt coming back, and Suarez and some of the other guys, and losing Rogers, even though I hate to say it, it was good that they traded Rogers because I think he mentally was done in San Diego. I think that's been his problem his whole career. If you watch him pitch, when things are going great, he doesn't hesitate. He gets the ball and throws it. He's ready to go. When he's getting hit and he's walking, you can see his eyes are rolling. He's struggling to stay focused. So that was a good trade for the Padres. John, the retired UPS guy, says it's a Padres. They'll screw it up in the end. You never know. It's been known to happen. It's been known to happen from time to time. But I'm going to be positive here, John, the retired UPS guy. I think the Padres have made a good trade. Again, some of the young talent, Abrams. I think Abrams might eventually move to the outfield. I think he makes great defensive plays at times, and there's other times you go, what is he thinking? He just doesn't. Like there was a double play on that Saturday game, the double play grounder that should have ended this, scoring at 4, make it 4-1. Well, he throws it away into the ground. Now Hosmer could have scooped it up, but we know Hosmer's not going to scoop it up. So he just lacks lackadaisical at times. He's 21. But you think a rookie would be more, okay, I need to be more focused on what's going on in the game. He's probably always relied on his natural talent every level he's been because he's that good. I think he can be a 25 to 30 homer guy because he's got the size. He has a fantastic swing. We don't want your Rogers either, John, the retired guy, his twin brother. But Abrams, I think, will be a superstar in this league. But you have to, in order to get a player like Soto, you have to trade talent away. Like I said, Gore, if he gets his head on straight and can stay healthy, he's going to be a very, very good pitcher for the Nationals. Wood has shown a lot in lower A. He's got power. He hits for average. He could be the real deal. A lot of people saying he could be the next Soto, but he could be the next, me. We don't know. So again, you have to trade talent to get talent. And normally I'd be against a trade where you trade a lot of your farm system talent, but since they got Bell and also Soto is only 23, now comes the big thing. Can they sign him? Because he did turn down a 15-year, $440 million contract. Now, would he have accepted the $440 million if it was 10 years? Because that's $44 million a year, opposed to $34 million a year. I don't know. I mean, a 10-year contract, he'd be 33 when the contract is over. He could still potentially get another big contract. So maybe it was a length of the contract, because at 38, you're probably not going to get a big contract as you would at 33. So maybe the Padres can sign him to extension, a 10-year contract, which would be up in 35 or maybe 8 years. 8 years, because he has 2 years left on his current deal. And I think the Padres, in order to compete, John, the retired guy, asked, what does Hosmer have to do with it? He's part of the trade, but he has the right to veto it, and right now he's saying no. But the National Geek Dad Life guy said that the Padres, the trade is not hinging on Hosmer approving the trade or not. I know the Padres just want to get rid of Hosmer and be done with him because he's not going to start over Bell. There's no way. Bell is just the better overall hitter. And again, he has power that the Padres are sorely lacking. I mean, the reason they've lost so many games to the Rockies is they could out-hit the Rockies, the Padres, but the Padres have been station to station for the most part, especially without Tatis. They don't have a lot of power, just Manny, but you add Soto and Bell and bring Tatis back. Well, now you're getting those 3-run homers. Now you're getting the 2-run homers that have been beating the Padres all season, because that's what teams do. The Padre pitcher makes a mistake, boom, 3-run homer, we're down 3-0 or 3-1, and the Padres can't score to catch up. So that's why it's huge to make this trade, especially with the starting pitching staff they have. It's a great starting pitching. And they even have Nick Martinez, who's the 6th pitcher. they could easily start and be successful. But I like the role. He's been kind of the setup guy in the bullpen, or he piggybacks if a starter has a bad game. He comes in and piggybacks and pitches 4 or 5 innings that doesn't deplete the bullpen. So let me know what you think in the comment section. Are you happy with this trade? I know Geek Dad Life is. John, the retired guy, is probably he's a Giants fan, and they're kind of struggling right now. That looks like they're going to be sellers and not buyers. But you never know. The Giants could, throw everybody off and become buyers. But we shall see. We shall see. Check Twitter one more time, see what's going on. See if I can share this. I don't think I can because it's on a different thing. I don't know what I'm doing. Geek Dad Life is happy about this trade. I wonder if the players will be there tonight because Hader didn't make it. Hader did have a rough July, but his wife had a difficult pregnancy. And it was his first child. I'm assuming that affected him because, when you're a parent and you don't want to see your child, you don't want to see your wife going through a difficult pregnancy. So John, the retired guy, says, careful what you say on Twitter now. If you don't know, I was banned for about 9 months for making a joke on Twitter. Finally got it back after about 50 appeals. It was a misunderstanding and should never have happened, but it is what it is. But we shall see. Mario Home is still a Padre. I didn't want to trade him. He's a young player who's only 22, coming back from his second Tommy John surgery. He does have injury problems, but he's got great stuff. Could be great in the bullpen for the Padres. I still see maybe the Padres trading. Maybe they trade Mario Home for Contreras at catcher. I don't want to give up Alfaro. I love Alfaro. If you want Nola, take Nola, but I don't want to give up Alfaro. I mean, what does Geek Dad Life say? I mean, I'd love to have Contreras, but I don't want to give up Alfaro. Nola can go. No hate against Nola. He was just one of Preller's worst trades probably of all time, just because what they gave up. And Nola is what he is. He's a really good defensive catcher, but he can't throw people out. He has no power, and he doesn't hit for average and he has no speed. I mean, he's a solid backup catcher. Alfaro showed he's got speed. He hits clutch home runs, and he's really good defensively. Again, but he also struggles throwing people out too. So maybe getting Contreras would help the Padres defensively. The Padres already have a good defense. But adding Contreras would help. Now with Kim, John, the retired guy, thinks Houston's a team to beat. Yeah, they have a solid team. There's no question about that. But you got the Yankees who are playing, as long as Judge keeps hitting home runs, which he seems to do every day. Every time you turn on the highlights, there's Judge with another home run. What's Judge going to get next season? He turned down a 7-year, $240 million contract. What's Judge? Judge already has 100 RBIs and 45 homers, hitting close to 300. What is he going to get from the Yankees? That's probably why they didn't go after Soto. My guess, because Judge, they're going to have to pay him a boatload of money. This is not the George Steinbrenner Yankees. This is not George Steinbrenner when he would go out and pay for anybody. Yeah, like Johnny, retired guy, says Judge will own the team. I see him getting over $500 million. I mean, what's Ohtani going to get? I did a video yesterday. You can check it out that the Angels should trade Shohei Ohtani. And people are like, that's just crazy. Why would you trade a player that is the only reason fans are showing up for? Because you got Mike Trout, who has a $427 million contract that runs through 2030. He has multiple injuries the last few seasons, and now he has some chronic back issue that he's going to constantly have to take care of to be on the field. And I can tell you, having a back injury, back pain, it doesn't go away. You might be able to treat it, but over time, it just gets worse. So Trout should probably move to DH, but he can't move to DH. Why? Because Shohei Ohtani's there. Now, they could move Shohei Ohtani to first base, but do you want Shohei Ohtani, who's also a great pitcher, playing every day, also taking a chance on him getting hurt in the field? Being a DH is a lot safer than playing in the field. So, and then you also have Rendon, who's got a $5 million contract that runs through 2026, 27. So the Angels have a lot of money tied up in players that aren't seeing the field. Ohtani right now is a bargain. I think this year he's making $5.5 million. I think next year it's like $7 or $8 million on his final year of the deal. Will he sign with the Angels? If the Angels are still losing, and it doesn't look like they got a lot going for him, I don't see him signing next year. So you need to trade him. Maybe they didn't trade him because they were waiting to see what happens with Soto. I mean, rumors were the Dodgers wanted Shohei Ohtani. If you're the Angels, why would you trade Shohei Ohtani to the Dodgers? I would think the Giants. That would be a good move for the Giants. John, the retired guy, says with the DH in both leagues now, Judge opportunities are endless, even though he's a pretty good outfielder. But the Giants would be a good move to get Shohei Ohtani, because Shohei Ohtani, it brings money into the team. You're selling merchandise. When you're on the road, people forget that when you're on the road, your team gets 40% of the take from the home teams. The home team gets 60%. The road team gets 40% of whatever the crowd attendance is. So if you have a team like the Padres have become a team where fans want to go see them play because of Tatis. Now, Tatis hasn't been on the field at all this season, which has hurt them. I went to a game in Pittsburgh. I went to Pittsburgh to watch the Padres play 2 games, and there were a lot of Pirates fans with Tatis jerseys. So, and most of them were kids. Kids love Fernando Tatis. Now, another question is, well, before I go on, John, the retired guy, says he'll want to be based on the West Coast, which I agree. I can't see him playing in New York is tough. I mean, you have to have. I think he has the mentality to play in New York. I mean, there's a lot of players that just can't go there and take the heat. If you don't produce, like Philadelphia, it's another place where it's just brutal. If you don't produce, you get torn apart. Now, even San Diego with Hosmer, going back to Hosmer. Hosmer has taken a lot of crap on social network, but nothing like he would see playing in New York. But now I lost my train of thought. Thanks, John, the UPS guy. Anyone know what I was talking about before I veered off? Anybody? Bueller? Geek Dad Life? Anybody? See, that's kids playing at home. You don't want to get old, or write it down so you don't forget what you're going to say. Oh, I know what I was going to say. I got it. You got Soto and Tatis. Is there enough mustard for both those hot dogs to play on the same team? Because if you watch Soto, he's as big a hot dog as Fernando Tatis. Now, I used to be old school. I'm old school. It's like, hey, if you hit a home run, just run around the bases, do that. Even though when I played sports, I was a bit of a hot dog. I mean, I didn't have the talent these guys had, but I would goof around every now and then. But let's face it, it's a new era. Flipping the bat, me is the way to go. Now you have Tatis and Soto on the same team. Again, you're going to need a lot of mustard for those two hot dogs. I did a video on Soto yesterday. He had a homer against Scherzer and a great defensive play. You can check that out. It's the latest video on my feed. And it must have taken him like 45, 50 seconds to run around the bases on the home run. Now, he did it against Scherzer. And Scherzer, he don't take crap from anybody. I was shocked that, that Scherzer didn't give him some chin music later on just to say, hey, we used to be teammates. I'm nuts. You don't do that against me. So that'll be fun. That'll be exciting for the fans. The fans, the younger fans, they love that. And I'll be honest with you, when Tatis goes crazy, I love it. John, the retired guy, has Tatis' wrist healed right. As of now, everything seems to be on schedule. He's taking live batting practice. He's supposed to do a rehab assignment this week. I wouldn't, if he's healthy, they say he needs to do it for his timing. I would do him maybe 2 games, and then I'd bring him up. You got to keep this momentum going. You're playing the Rockies. It's a 5-game, 4-day series. They have a doubleheader tonight, and I think a doubleheader tonight. Oh, today and tonight, day-night doubleheader. They don't do the back-to-back ones anymore. Remember when I was a kid? You would go to those doubleheaders because that's 18 innings, 2 games for the price of 1. Of course, it was the Padres, so it was a long losing day. John, the retired guy, says DH for Tatis for a week, probably, and he'll play a lot. He'll probably, because what you have too, I wanted to mention earlier, you have Ha-Seong Kim, who's great defense. He might be the second best defender on the team now. Manny Machado, Gold Glover, Jake Cronenworth, I think is the best defender on the team. He's so sure-handed. But Tatis, great glove. Sometimes his arm gets a little wild, but maybe having a first baseman that can scoop the ball helps cut down his errors. Kim could be your super utility guy because with the DH, you can say, okay, give Manny a day off. You put Kim at third. Manny DHs. Tatis, you give him a DH spot. You have Kim playing shortstop. And you also, if you really wanted to mix things up, Tatis could play center field and Grisham could sit the bench, and Kim could play shortstop. Now, a lot of people are Tatis won't want to do it. Now, Tatis, last year when they put him out there, he pouted. There's a video of Manny and screaming at Fernando Tatis because I think he was sick of his pouting. It never really came out what it was about. But he said, it's not about you, not about you, not about you. Tatis took the move to the outfield as an insult. He wants to be a shortstop. And I think he could be a Gold Glove outfielder. He has a cannon for an arm. So with Tatis in the outfield, that gives you an outfield of Profar, Tatis, Soto. You put, instead of having Grisham batting ninth, you put Kim batting ninth, who has speed. He just needs to be smarter on the bases. He gets thrown out way too much. And he's been hitting like over 300 the last 3 weeks. So he's maybe slowly starting to get, because he was from Korea, and the pitchers don't throw as hard in Korea as they do here. And it's taken him a while to learn the game and learn how to hit. And again, like I said earlier, he's going the opposite way, which is a great move for him. But that would also help the team. That's a great offense. And also, you don't lose anything defensively because Tatis, I believe, can be a great outfielder. But again, I see Tatis DHing a lot, Manny DHing a lot. And that would, or you put Tatis. You want to keep Kim in there at least 3 or 4 games a week. He's got to start at least 3 or 4 games a week to keep his learning process going forward. But again, that with the DH, like John mentioned, having the DH, a lot of people don't like it. I've always I said, fine, let's do the DH. Old school, but I said, okay, let's do the DH because I think nobody wants to see the pitcher hit because most pitchers can't hit. They can't bunt. It's just a waste of time. But I think this opens up. You can still play Manny, who I don't think is 100% from when he's twisted his ankle and he's got a tennis elbow problem too. Having him DH a little more would help him be rested for the playoff run. Like same thing with Tatis. He's coming back from an injury, and you want to take it easy on him. So having him DH once in a while would help too. So the Padres have moves again, and also Will Myers is back, and I like Will Myers in the outfield. He could play some center field. So the Padres now have at least options. They're not counting on guys like Mazzara. Mazzara had played pretty well, but his average is coming down. He doesn't have the power he used to have. I like him. He's a good sub, good guy coming off the bench. If someone needs a few days off, you could put him in the outfield, and you'd be okay with that. John, the retired guy, TC, should be playing left field, less range needed, and arm is suited for that side of the field. I agree, but then what do you do with Profar? Now, Profar could opt out after this season. He has a 3-year, $21 million contract, but he has an opt-out clause, and he's had a pretty good year. So I'm assuming, and Burroughs is his agent, so he's going to want more money. Simply Baseball says the Padres still not making the playoffs, but he's a Cardinal fan. Yeah, but the Cardinals always seem to find a way to sneak into the playoffs. That to me, people say the Dodgers are the best system in baseball. But I say it's the Cardinals. The Cardinals are always good, and they don't spend money like the Dodgers do. Again, I'm not criticizing the Dodgers for spending money. If there's no rule you can spend as much as you want, you do that. And now the Padres are spending a lot of money. But, yeah, the Cardinals, you can never count them out. You can never count them out. They always seem to bring players up from the minors and go from there. Profar. John the UPS, I had Profar as a punk. Let him go. Nah, I love me some Profar. He's always got a great smile on his face unless the ball hits a single that should score a run and hits the umpire. He got a little pissy with the umpire. I thought, I'm like, okay, Profar, nobody wants to get hit. He asked, Simply Baseball asked, do I think there needs to be a salary cap? I've said there needs to be a salary cap for a long time, but there also needs to be a salary floor. You can't just have teams, with a $30 million payroll tanking every year. But I think there should be some kind of cap in baseball. Yeah, John Retired guys, the Cardinals always contend great fan base. Yeah, it's a fantastic. I remember when Tony Gwynn was going for his 3,000th hit. They were playing in St. Louis, and he hit 2,999. He didn't get the 3,000 hit there. He got it in Montreal at that time, they were threatening to move, all that fun stuff, and there was nobody really there to see it. St. Louis been a much better place for Tony Gwynn to get the base hit. I mean, he got it, and he's one of the greatest hitters of all time. But St. Louis does have a great, fantastic fan base. My dad was a huge St. Louis Cardinal fan. He taught me young in life because before the Padres were a major league team, I would root for the Cardinals, and because that's what my dad rooted for. But he also said, never root for the Dodgers. And I don't root for the Dodgers, especially now that I'm a Padre fan. Nothing against Dodger fans. Again, some of my closest friends are Dodger fans, but I don't root for them. But yeah, I do think there needs to be some kind of salary cap in baseball, just to make it, because football. You look at the NFL and teams, even teams in small markets. You look at Pittsburgh; it's always a solid team. They're always competitive. Why? Because there's a salary cap. The Pirates, teams could spend more. Like I always said, the Padres could spend more than what they were spending because there was a time they were only spending like $30 or $40 million a season. It was frustrating. They would trade their good players away. I never thought they would spend this kind of money. I mean, they have an owner now that wants to spend money. He's making money off the team. They just purchased some land around Petco Park that they're going to use to make more money. So the Padres are not losing money. Can they compete with the Dodgers financially? No. There's no way they can compete with the Dodgers financially. And at this point, nobody can. The Yankees can't. Maybe the Mets. The Mets have an owner with deep pockets. He could possibly, spend a lot of money. But what are these small market teams going to do? Like Kansas City, Pittsburgh, Tampa Bay. But Tampa Bay seems to always be in there. They just can't seem to get over the top. Do the Rays need to move? And again, I hate to see any team leave a city because it's happened to me several times. I was a Clipper fan. The Clippers moved to LA because they had a terrible owner in Donald Sterling. The Chargers, huge Charger fan, they moved because of Dean Spanos, who just was terrible at trying to get a stadium. He didn't want to pay for. Well, he didn't have the money to pay for a stadium. He waited for someone with big pockets like Kroenke to come in, build a stadium. Can we play there too? Please, can we play there? And the NFL said, sure, go ahead, which is stupid. You have two teams going into a market that wasn't clamoring for a team. LA wasn't saying, hey, we want an NFL team. Give us an NFL team. Nobody was in LA was clamoring for an NFL team. So what did they do? They put two teams there just to keep the Raiders out. They didn't want the Raiders there because Kroenke knew that the Raiders would take over the stadium because they're huge. They're hugely popular in LA. But now they're in Vegas and worth more than they were in Oakland. Again, but I hate to see teams move. But going to Tampa Bay, do they need to move in order to compete? You even have the Miami Marlins. They need to move to compete. I mean, Florida baseball just doesn't seem to do well. But again, you look at the Marlins, every time they won a World Series, they had a fire sale. There was no to build a winning team, to build a team that's going to be successful, you have to win games. I don't care. Like Dodger fans will tell Padre fans, you're a fair weather fan. You only support your team when they win. When have the Dodgers ever been bad? When have they ever been? I'm talking Padre bad. They've never been, as long as I've been alive, they've never been terrible. Now, in the Dodgers' eyes, of not making the playoffs, not winning the World Series is terrible. But in the rest of the world, baseball world, the Dodgers have always been competitive for the most part. John the Retired Guy says visiting teams take over the Rams games, and they also take over the Charger games for the most part. And I'm kicking myself for not buying season tickets to SoFi so I could sell them. But anyway, John the Retired Guy says, where's the next city to get a team? Is it Montreal again? I think Montreal got a raw deal. I mean, they have that terrible stadium, though. Olympic Stadium is just terrible. It was costing them. I can remember they had this crane up that was supposed to have a retractable roof, and it was designed for the Olympics. And at one point, they couldn't take it down, the cranes and everything, and they couldn't finish it because they had no money. But yet, it was more money to take it down than what it would have taken to complete the project. It was just a terrible situation. So they're going to need a new baseball stadium. The Blue Jays are successful in Toronto. The problem is if you're a player, getting players to go there and signing big contracts is risky because not only are you paying taxes in America, you're paying taxes in Canada. And taxes in Canada are really high. So, yeah. So again, that's like, with teams, NFL team going to London would be hard because teams would have to pay enormous taxes in London and also America. So when you're playing games, you're an athlete playing games in the United States, you pay taxes in every city you go to. So if you're in San Diego and you go to, say, playing Arizona, you pay taxes there and also the taxes you pay in California and also your federal taxes. So I'm not saying, hey, they're not making a lot of money. John the Retired Guy says maybe Mexico. I think the Padres would probably would fight against that because they have trouble because you have the Angels, which aren't much of a, but they have the Dodgers, then you have the Diamondbacks, and they're kind of squished in the corner there. So I think Padres would want Mexico for their own. In fact, if the Padres were smart, they'd probably play, a couple series in Mexico City to try and gain support and build that interest in Mexico, selling more jerseys. It's all about merchandise. It's all about the hats, this, that. The tickets are going to be sold. The Padres are going to be selling out because of the team they have now and the excitement around it. And if they win the World Series, come on. San Diego is starving for a championship. Haven't had a championship since the San Diego Sockers won 11 12 indoor championships. With the NFL, we never won a Super Bowl. The Padres have never won a World Series. Been to two, but never won one. So San Diego sports needs and wants that championship. They have to have it. So again, I'm excited. I know the fans in San Diego are excited. Let's take one more look at Twitter, see what's going on. Yeah, it looks like the trade is going. Doesn't look like there's any hiccups. Eric Hosmer still a Padre for now. Team in a tough spot here. They were willing to pay most of his contract, all but $8 million. Do they just release him? If he doesn't take the deal, do they just release him? Maybe that's what he wants, so he can go sign where he wants to play. Let's see. Yeah, I think what will happen is either Hosmer accepts the trade or the Padres are going to release him. I don't see that. There's no need to keep him on the team. Again, if they were willing to give up, if the Padres were willing to pay $8 million of the $39 million, pay all but $8 million of the $39 million contract, I say they just go, all right, here's the deal. You take the trade. But again, that might be because Hosmer's agent is also Scott Burrows. So he might be playing hardball with the Padres. Again, if I was a player, yeah, I want Scott Burrows as my agent because he's going to help me make some bank. Hosmer probably doesn't want to uproot his family. He just recently got married. I don't know if he has any kids. I think he doesn't. I think he wants to decide. I think he wants to control who he goes to, and I don't think he wants to play for the Nationals, who are rebuilding. I just don't think he wants to do that. And who else are they going to have hitting around him? So it's a tough situation for Hosmer. Again, maybe the Padres just release him, or maybe they trade him to the Yankees for Joey Gallo. That could be something. I don't see Hosmer being on the team after all these moves. Again, you have Myers can back up first base. You have Voit who can play first base. Geek Dad Life says he lives in Miami. Don't blame him for not wanting to play for the Nationals. So maybe he goes to the Marlins. Maybe he wants to go to the Marlins. Who knows? But, Marlins are a good team, but, seems like every year they're selling off players and constantly rebuilding. They do have a great, great pitching staff. And they have some good young players. They have some good talent. Just need a few more players. Is Hosmer the answer? No, but and get rid of him, I guess, is what Padre fans are thinking. But pretty much, I've rambled on for almost an hour. I don't know what else I can say. Yeah, I agree with John, the retired guy. Just release him; he'll sign somewhere else. So at least he would. I think he wants the power to sign where he wants to play, whether it's New York. I'm sure he wants to play for a contender. Maybe it's the Cardinals backup there, maybe DH. Not that the Cardinals would want him. But if they didn't have to pay him a lot of money, he's more valuable if the Padres are playing like they release him. Then the Padres are on and if no one claims him, then the Padres are on the hook for the contract. So he maybe could sign a little more, but it's not as big as risk to a team that signs Hosmer when the Padres are paying his salary. But that's all I got for now. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Good trade for the Padres, bad trade for the Padres, good trade for the Nationals. I think we won't know about the Nationals for a few years. But again, like I said, Abrams, I think, will be a star. He has a great, great swing. It's just a matter if he has it up here. He got picked off, I don't know how many times. He's lackadaisical. He's a lollygagger. And we know what lollygaggers are. Lollygaggers. So can he be the player that the Padre fans thought he would be this season? But he came up and he wasn't ready. He wasn't ready to play. But they needed him because Tatis wasn't here and the Padres weren't hitting as well as they should. He has speed. And again, I think he will hit for some power. And I think but I think he would be best suited in the outfield because he just seems to be flaky at times. He just seems to you sit there and look and go, what are you doing? What are you thinking? But he has great range at shortstop. He just has a funny throw. Sometimes his throws are just terrible. And other times they're great. Again, he needs more seasoning. If I'm the Nationals, I put him in the minors or I start him right away. He plays right away from the start because the problem he's been with the Padres, he plays a couple games and he doesn't play for a week. He plays for a couple games, doesn't play for a week. When a young player needs to play in order to grow. I mean, it's like anybody else. You have to gain experience. I mean, I think a lot of fans in San Diego were like expecting him to be Tatis. Tatis came up and was like great from the start. That is rare. It's rare for a player to come up and be a great player or even a productive player right away. It doesn't always happen. It takes a couple of years. So that's all I got. Let me know what you think in the comment section. Thanks, John, the retired guy. I've talked so much, I've run out of juice. But thanks for everyone who joined us in the chat. John, the retired guy. Good luck to your Giants. Not really, but good luck to your Giants. And we'll see what happens from there. This was fun. It's kind of really my first live one that I did. And I'll probably do some more of them. But that's all we got. Bye, everybody. Go Padres.